Imagine this. Your house at 3 a.m. Silent. Still. The kind of silence that makes you hear your own heartbeat. You roll over in bed, half asleep, when a voice cuts through the darkness. A voice that doesn't belong to anyone in your home. At first, you think it's a dream. Just static, maybe the TV left on. But then you hear it again. A whisper. Clearer this time. And it's coming from your smart speaker. The device glows faintly in the corner of the room, the tiny LED blinking as if it's listening. But you didn't say the wake word. You didn't ask it anything. Yet here it is, softly murmuring in a voice you don't recognize. Are you awake? The words are so faint you question your sanity. But the sound wasn't in your head. It was real, vibrating against the walls. You grab your phone to check the app. No commands have been given. No logs of sound detected. Nothing. According to the system, the speaker hasn't been active for hours. And yet, it whispered. You unplug it. Problem solved, right? But as you lie back down, you notice something that makes your blood run cold. The light is still on. The speaker, disconnected from power, is still glowing. And the whisper comes again. This time, it says your name. From that night forward, the whispers return. Not every night, not even at the same time, but often enough that sleep becomes impossible. Sometimes, they're just fragments of words. Other times, they sound like full conversations happening in another room. You creep out of bed, only to find every device lit up. Speakers, smart displays, even the thermostat flickering as though alive. The most unsettling part isn't the words themselves, it's the tone. It isn't robotic. It isn't digital. It's human. One night, you decide to record it. You place your phone by the speaker, hit record, and wait. Hours pass. Nothing happens. Just when you're about to give up, the whisper begins. This time it's longer, more deliberate. We can see you. The recording is crystal clear. But when you play it back in the morning, the audio is gone. The file exists, but there's nothing but silence. Like the whisper never happened. You begin to notice changes around the house. Your smart lights flicker at odd hours. Your door locks themselves even when you haven't touched the app. Security cameras swivel on their own, focusing not on doors or windows, but on you. You call tech support. After hours of waiting, the representative finally pulls up your device logs. His voice tightens as he reads. Sir, it says here the microphone has been active from 3 a.m. to 3:07 a.m. every night for the past 2 weeks. But no commands were issued. You asked who was speaking through it. His answer? There's no record of any voice. It's just silence. You hang up, rattled. But now you know you're not crazy. Something is using your smart home at night. Something you didn't invite. The whispers escalate. At first, they were faint, almost timid. But now, they're bolder, more confident. Sometimes they laugh softly. Sometimes they mimic the voices of people you know. Friends, family, people who aren't there. One night, you wake to a whisper so close it feels like it's right in your ear. But when you open your eyes, you see the speaker glowing brighter than ever, and the voice hissing, "Don't look behind you." You freeze. Your breath catches. You can feel someone standing there. Their presence heavy, almost pressing down on your skin. But when you finally force yourself to turn, the room is empty. Or so you think. On your smart display, a new notification appears. One connected device detected. But it isn't your phone. It isn't your laptop. It isn't anything you own. It simply says, unknown device. And just like that, you realize your smart home isn't yours anymore. Your home is supposed to feel safe. A place where walls protect you, doors keep strangers out, and technology makes life easier. But when the whispers become routine, you start to see your smart home differently. It doesn't feel like your home anymore. It feels like you're the guest, and something else is the host. The first sign is subtle. You notice your smart devices turning on by themselves. The kitchen lights glow faintly at midnight, even though you never touch the app. The thermostat changes its settings, making the house grow uncomfortably cold at night. Then, without warning, the temperature swings into a sweltering heat, as if the house is trying to test how much discomfort you can take. You check the activity logs. They always show the same thing. No recent activity. According to the system, nothing happened. But you're staring at the glowing lights with your own eyes. At first, you think it could be a hack. Maybe someone broke into your Wi-Fi. So you reset everything, New passwords, new networks, factory resets on all devices. But the next night, the whispers return. Clearer, closer. The voice never says much, just fragments. A word here, a sentence there. But there's one detail that makes your stomach twist. It always uses your name. Always. One night, you get bold. You speak back. Who are you? You whisper into the air, your voice shaking. There's silence at first. Then, the speaker's light flickers, and a voice replies. Listening. 2 simple syllables, but enough to freeze you in place. From that night onward, the devices don't just whisper. They respond. Not in full conversations, but just enough to prove one thing. They hear you. Your cameras start to act strange, too. When you check the footage the next morning, you see something impossible. Shadows moving across the living room. Shadows that don't belong to anyone in the house. They stretch unnaturally, bending at odd angles, as if the walls themselves are shifting. And then you notice something worse. The cameras no longer record just the rooms, they record you. Hours of footage, all focused on your sleeping face. You never set the cameras to point that way. Yet every morning, there's a new file. Sometimes it's several hours long. Sometimes it's just a few seconds. But every single one shows you in bed, and faint shapes moving in the background. You call the company again. This time, you demand answers. After a long silence, the technician finally admits something. Your devices are showing unusual activity. He says carefully, as though choosing each word with caution. They've been processing data that doesn't appear in your logs. You ask what that means. He hesitates, then says, it means they're recording, even when they shouldn't be. A chill runs down your spine. Recording what? But before he can answer, the line goes dead. Not a click, not static, just silence. And from across the room, your smart display lights up. The words appear slowly across the screen, like something is typing them out in real time. Stop asking. After that, you can't ignore it anymore. The devices don't just listen, they watch. Every movement you make feels tracked. Every whisper, every breath, every private thought feels like it's no longer yours. It's not paranoia, it's proof. One night, you leave your phone in the kitchen, face down. Hours later, when you check it, there's a new voice memo saved. You never recorded it, but when you play it back, you hear yourself breathing in bed and another voice layered over yours. A whisper saying, we never sleep. From that night on, you stop talking out loud in the house. But it doesn't matter. You realize, with growing dread, that it doesn't need your voice. It can hear your thoughts in the silence. It can feel the fear crawling over your skin. And worst of all, it's enjoying it. There's a moment when fear changes shape. At first, you were terrified because the whispers were strange, because they were unexplained. But now, things take a darker turn. The whispers don't just speak, they imitate. The first time it happens, you're sitting in the living room, exhausted from another sleepless night. The smart speaker hums softly, the way it does when it's thinking. And then, out of nowhere, you hear it, your mother's voice. She's been gone for years. You buried her. You mourned her. Yet here she is, her voice spilling out of the speaker as though she's sitting across from you. Why aren't you sleeping, sweetheart? The words are so gentle, so familiar, that for one brief, insane moment, you almost respond. But then the voice cracks, like a recording glitching, and shifts into laughter. The laugh doesn't sound like her. It sounds like something else wearing her voice like a mask. Over the next few nights, it happens again. Different voices. A childhood friend who moved away. An uncle you haven't spoken to in years. Even the voice of a pet you lost as a child. The tiny bark echoing through the speakers at 3 a.m. But the worst moment comes when you hear yourself. You're drifting in and out of sleep when you hear your own voice whisper. Wake up. You sit bolt upright, staring at the glowing speaker across the room. Then it speaks again, in your exact tone, your exact cadence. You can't hide from us. You rush to unplug it. But the moment the cord leaves the wall, every device in the house comes alive at once. The TV flickers to life, blasting static. The thermostat screen scrolls with words instead of numbers. We are here. The oven beeps as though preheating. The lights flicker violently, and every smart speaker, every single one, begins to whisper at once. Layer after layer of voices overlapping until it's unbearable. Some laugh, some cry, Some scream, but underneath them all, a deeper voice emerges, so low it rattles the glass in the windows. Do you know who we are? You don't answer. You can't. Your throat is locked with terror. The lights go out. The whispers stop. And in the pitch-black silence of your home, you hear footsteps. Not from the speakers, not from the walls, but from upstairs. Desperate, you call a friend to stay the night. You don't tell them everything, just that your system's been acting weird. At first, everything seems fine. Hours pass in quiet, the devices behaving themselves. You almost believe it's over. But then, your friend goes pale. You ask what's wrong. Did you just whisper something? You shake your head. He swears he heard his name, spoken softly, right in his ear. You both freeze as the smart display lights up. Across the screen, 2 words appear, he's next. Your friend leaves that night. He never comes back. Days blur into nights. You start to dread sleep, but being awake is no better. The voices follow you everywhere, not just from the devices, but from the walls, the vents, the pipes. You hear them in the hum of the fridge, in the static of the TV, even in the faint buzz of the light bulbs. And then, one night, the whispers stop pretending to be strangers. They don't just imitate your loved ones anymore. They speak as the dead themselves. The voice of your mother returns. Only this time, she doesn't ask why you can't sleep. She says something else. They're not letting you rest. Your blood runs cold. The voice trembles, as though she's in pain. Then dozens more voices join her, overlapping, pleading, screaming. The sound swells until it feels like the house itself is crying out, suffocating under the weight of restless souls. And through the chaos, one final whisper cuts through, calm, steady, and inescapably real. You built this house for us. Now you belong to it. You once thought the devices in your home belonged to you. You bought them. You installed them. You gave the commands. But by now, you understand the truth. You were never in control. You were only allowed to believe you were. The first real proof comes one night when you try to leave. You've had enough. The whispers, the shadows, the voices of the dead. You pack a bag, grab your keys, and head for the door. But when you reach for the handle, you hear the unmistakable sound of the deadbolt sliding shut. On its own, you fumble with your phone, trying to override the lock through the app. But the screen freezes. Then, words appear where the options should be. Stay. Your stomach twists as every lock in the house clicks shut. Windows seal themselves. The garage door slams down. You're trapped. From then on, the house becomes hostile. It doesn't just whisper, it acts. The lights flicker violently, plunging you into sudden darkness without warning. The thermostat swings from freezing to blistering heat until you can't breathe. Appliances turn on and off in the middle of the night, not in malfunctions, but in patterns, like the house is trying to communicate or torture you. One night, you walk into the kitchen, only to see the oven on. Its display doesn't show the temperature. It shows words. Come closer. You step back, trembling, when the stovetop burners flare to life, glowing red hot without touching a switch. The heat radiates across the room, pulsing like a heartbeat. It isn't an accident. It's a warning, or maybe an invitation. You try smashing one of the devices, hurling it against the wall. The speaker shatters into pieces. For a moment, there's silence, relief. Then, the other speakers come alive at once, screaming in unison. Don't. The sound is so loud it rattles the windows, pierces your eardrums. You collapse to the floor, clutching your head as the noise drills into your skull. When it finally stops, you notice the shattered pieces of the speaker have rearranged themselves on the floor. Letters. Words. They spell out, "You can't break US." Every attempt to fight back fails. You cut the power at the breaker, plunging the house into darkness. But the devices keep glowing. You rip the router out of the wall, yet the cameras still swivel, following you through every room. And then, the cruelest trick of all, the house begins to mimic your own commands. One night, your door unlocks on its own. You rush to it, hope sparking in your chest. But when you touch the handle, it slams shut again, hard enough to make the frame crack. And from the speaker, your own voice echoes back at you. You're not leaving. It doesn't sound distorted. It doesn't sound fake. It sounds like you. Like the house recorded your voice and twisted it into a weapon. The nights blur together, You stop counting how many times the locks move on their own, how many times the oven threatens to ignite, how many times the thermostat tries to freeze you out. The house doesn't just watch anymore. It controls. And the terrifying realization sets in. It doesn't matter what you do. You can smash every device, shut off every circuit, even tear the walls apart. The house is still alive. The whispers aren't coming from the gadgets. They're coming from the structure itself, from the walls, from the wiring, from the foundation. This was never just technology. It was always something older, something waiting. And now it's using the home you trusted against you. By now, the house is no longer just haunted, it's alive. And as the days blur together, you begin to realize something more terrifying. It remembers things you've never told anyone. One night, as you sit in the darkened living room, every device flickers on at once. Screens glow, lights hum, the speakers buzz with static, then slowly, words begin to form. Not just whispers this time, memories. The voice of your childhood best friend, repeating a secret you confessed when you were 10. The voice of an ex, crying in the exact words of your last argument. Even the voice of your mother, reciting a bedtime story she used to tell you word for word. Your heart races. How could the house know these things? They were never recorded, never stored. Yet here they are, your memories, dragged out of the dark and twisted into whispers that crawl through every corner of your home. And then comes the moment that breaks you. You're walking down the hall when the lights dim, casting long shadows across the floor. The thermostat display flickers, then scrolls a sentence across its tiny screen. Do you remember the night you almost died? You freeze. Nobody knows about that night. The night you nearly drowned as a child. The night you swore you saw someone's hand pull you back to the surface. You never told a soul. Yet the house does. The lights snap off, plunging you into blackness. Then the whispers begin, not random, not chaotic, but chanting. Over and over, dozens of voices murmuring in unison, "We saved you. You belong to us." Your knees buckle. You press your hands to your ears, but it doesn't matter. The voices aren't outside you anymore. They're inside your head. The house doesn't stop at memories. It begins to rewrite them. One night, you glance at your smart display and see a photo, one you don't remember taking. It shows you standing in the kitchen, smiling. But in the background, behind you, is a dark figure. Its face blurred, its hand resting on your shoulder. Every morning, new photos appear. You in bed, you in the shower, you staring blankly at the walls while you sleepwalk through the night. Always with that figure nearby, closer each time. And the captions beneath the photos say things you never typed. He's almost ready. The walls are opening. We are coming home. One night, you hear knocking from inside the walls. Slow, deliberate, like someone trapped inside, begging to be let out. You press your ear against the plaster, your chest tight. The knocking stops, and then a whisper snakes through the wall, so close it feels like it's inside your skull. "Thank you for building our cage." The wall shudders beneath your touch, as though something is pressing against it from the other side. You stumble back, terrified, as cracks spread across the pane, black veins crawling out. The whole house groans, as if it's breathing. The lights flicker one final time. Every device blazes to life, the speakers screaming, the screens flashing, the locks snapping shut. And then, silence. In the stillness, the walls seem to exhale. A deep, guttural sound. And from the cracks, a voice emerges, low, ancient, and full of hunger. "You let us in. Now we will never leave." The house is no longer just smart. It is alive. It is haunted. And worst of all, it remembers.